Good evening, Dharma friends. Wish you all the blessings of the Noble Triple Gem. It is Tuesday, October 8. It is not the usual day that we have the Sutta study class. Due to many programs during the weekends and upcoming Katina offering ceremonies, I thought of changing the day. I thought of changing the day from Saturday to Tuesday for several weeks in order to uninterruptedly conduct the class so that our friends enjoy the Dharma, learn the Dharma, and get some inspiration for their practice. I canceled the Sutta study class for 3 weeks for last 3 weeks due to the same reason. So then I thought I should make a plan and change the date of Sutta studies. So that's why we are here today. All right, so let's begin today's discussion by paying homage to the Supreme Buddha. May this short but very important respect to the Buddha help you cultivate a thought of kusala so that may be able to study Dhamma with peace of mind. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. I pay my homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the fully enlightened One. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, friends, the Sutta discussion takes a new discourse today. Actually, this Sutta was selected by us to have it in our discussion 3 weeks ago, but due to cancellation of Sutta studies, we did not do that. The Sutta is from Anguttara Nikaya, section number 7. The Sutta number is 63. The name of the Sutta is Nagaropama Sutta, the discourse on the citadel parable. Nagara Upama. So the parable is the citadel at the top place of the city hall or city frontier. So by taking this, as an example or a parable, the Buddha is delivering a wonderful teaching. He was able to sometime take some examples from the environment, from us, from animals, from various other animate and inanimate objects, teach the Dhamma for the benefit of all. It is said that taking parable examples and similes is always happening when the disciples are not that keen to get the points of the Dharma directly. But even wise people can enjoy suttas or any discourses when the Buddha takes parables, similes, because the meaning is double sometimes, the meaning is redefined, So the meaning has given a lot of stress on when the Buddha uses parables or similes or any kind of similar to that. So Nagaropama Sutta is one of the famous suttas due to the importance of the Dhamma elements in the discourse. Better for us to read the discourse since many of you do not have that experience of reading this particular sutta. Because when a Raja frontier citadel is well equipped with the 7 requisites of a citadel and the 4 kinds of food, obtainable whenever they decide, without trouble, without difficulty, this because this is said to be a Raja's frontier citadel that cannot be undone by those outside, by enemies, by disloyal friends. With what 7 requisite of a citadel, it is well provided. So that is the introduction to the sutta. If I go to the Pali version of the discourse, Anguttara Nikaya 7 and sutta number 63, it is said the Buddha delivered this discourse at Savatthi. Yatoko bhikkave ranyo pachantimang nagarang sattahi nagara parikrahi suparikitang. So 7, the city is protected by enemies with 7 qualities or 7 conditions. Sattahi parikarehi suparikitang. In the same way, Chatunnang Aharanang Nikamalabi Hoti Akichalabi Akasirlabi. Just like the city, now the Buddha explained the 7 type of protection made by the king of the city. So let's go to each and everyone. First, we understand the simile, then we go to the Dhamma. 7 requisite of a citadel. The pillar. The first one is the pillar. Here, because in the Raja's frontier citadel, there is a pillar, deeply buried, well sunk, immovable, unshakable. With this first citadel requisite, it is well equipped for the protection of the city inhabitants, protection of the city inhabitants, and for warding off those outside. So the first one is the pillar, citadel pillar. The second one is city moat. It's furthermore because in the Raja's frontier citadel there is a moat, deep and wide. With this second citadel requisite, it is well equipped for the protection of the city inhabitants and warding off of outside. So the first one is the pillar and the second one is the moat. The citadel's encircling path. So now have you seen this encircling path on top of the frontier? We have pillars, we have moat, and now we have a path to walk for soldiers and any person who wants to see outside long distance. This is the encircling path is the or walking path is the third one. And fourth one is armory. Because in the Raja's frontier citadel, there is a great armory of weapons, such as missiles and sword. So anything you can throw and control the enemies or kill the enemies, and also those weapons you use by your hands. So you cannot throw them, but you use them in order to fight with the enemies who are close to you. And missiles, those things that you throw away. So this is the third one. And the kind of, how, places where weapons are stored. Give me a second. So then the that is the fourth one. First one is the citadel pillar, second one is moat, and the third one is encircling path, and fourth one is the citadel's armory, and then the fifth one is troops. So many kind of troops could be there. Elephant in those days, elephant riders, horsemen, charioteers, archers, standard, bearers, camp marshal. In the Sutta says some player, uh, mm, you know, there are many categories in that. So they are all well trained and equipped with different weapons. So this is the fifth requisite for a protection of the city. And the sixth one is the gatekeeper. So no matter how powerful your army with all these weapons on top of uh, the citadel, you have to protect. Unless you protect the gate, unless you protect the openings for the city, you are going to be in big trouble, because the enemies could come through normal ways and make the damage. So very skillful gatekeeper is another requirement. That is the sixth one. And the seventh one is wall, citadel wall. This wall, as you can see from ancient cities, is so huge and wide, high and wide and well covered with a good coat of plasters. So uh, otherwise, you could be able to use different type of distance weapon and make damage the wall, so that you usually have plasters on it. So these are the seven citadel requisite. If it is well equipped, protected from enemies, and give security for city inhabitants, including the king. Uh, so, having mentioned these seven requisite for the protection of the city, the four kinds of food Buddha talk about. Of what kind of food does it obtain as they desire it without difficulty, without trouble? Here, because in the Raja's frontier citadel, much grass, wood, and water are stored up for delight, relief, and comfortable dwelling of the inhabitants, for warding off those outside. So one of the food we talk about is grass for horse and elephants, and wood and water. They are for also cooking food, and water is required for many aspects. So this is one kind of food, one kind of requirements for survival. The other important food category is rice and barley corn. So whatever you eat as the main meal, rice in those days, during the time of the Buddha, we know that the rice is the main food for many people in the Indian subcontinent. So rice and barley corn. The third type of food is sesame, green peas, beans, and other food items. So first you should have water, and then grass for animals you use for war and other things, and then wood to burn things out. Like you cannot cook wood without wood. So that's when it comes to second category, rice and barley, and then now we talk about some grains, some important vegetables. Then the fourth one is medicinal stuff: ghee, butter, oil, honey, sugar, salt, such things. So these are the four kinds of food that the Raja or the king, along with its inhabitants or citizens, should store up for the sake of well-being and happiness and comfortable living inside the city. So no matter how long the enemies block their normal activities being outside of the city hall, they can survive because of these four food, and enemies may not be able to reach closer because the city is well protected by a citadel pillar and other requisite. And in around the city, there is usually a water path which crocodile and various other dangerous animals are well kept and trained to kill anyone, anything, eat anything, jump into the water, so that it is not easy for anyone to any powerful army to come and attack if the city is prepared with these seven and then four food. So, because even when a Raja frontier citadel is well equipped with these seven requisites of a citadel and these four kinds of food, it obtained at will without trouble and without difficulty. This because is said to be a Raja frontier citadel that cannot be undone by. So, as usual, when these seven things are there along with the four kinds of food, no one is able to attack the city. That's the simile. That's the parable that the Buddha gave first to the monks. Now we go into the dharma behind the parable. Even so, because when a noble disciple is accomplished in seven true virtues and attain the four jhanas, the higher mind at will, without any difficulty, without any trouble, dwells happily here and now. Right now, Buddha has started selling the important Dhamma there. Just like the seven citadel requisites and four kinds of food. A noble disciple, the disciple that has already started the training, Dharma and Vinaya, is going to fulfill or practice seven virtues and attain four jhanas. When the disciple is practicing the four jhanas based on the seven virtues, his mind is definitely going to a state where he experienced joy and happiness, so that this person who is called noble disciple does not have any difficulty to attain the four jhanas again and again without any difficulty. So living happily here and now is going to be a true incident for this particular person, because he is having seven things in his behavior, and attaining jhana is taking place always. Let's go into the Dhamma details further. This disciple, because this disciple is said to be the one who has nothing to do with Mara, who is not overcome by the bad ones. So the disciple who who has seven virtues and practice jhana is unable to attack by. He is unable to be attacked by the Mara, the evil one. The Mara concept is difficult to discuss at some point of the discussion, but this Mara we talk about in suttas is a divine being who represent very bad things. In other words, this Mara deity is appearing when something bad happened for people. Particularly when the Buddha was trying to teach Dhamma to people, he thought that these people will understand the Dhamma and end their misdeed. So he did not like it, and he disturbed the Buddha. He disturbed disciples of the Buddha. He whatever he could do, he did, just to block the connection between the Buddha and disciple. Whenever the Buddha is trying to communicate Dharma to people, he tried to disturb. So this particular deity, therefore, is called Mara, the evil one. The meaning of the Mara is called evil one. So, however, when we develop 7 virtues and practice jhana, we are away from Mara's territory. We are away from any reach of Mara, so that he cannot disturb us. He may be doing certain things like creating uh, some uh, some mess for us in our kuti, in our house, in our whatever we do, but he cannot disturb our peaceful mind. He Because it is the nature of the developed mind. So, in what 7 virtues? We do not know yet what 7 virtues the Buddha is going to talk about. In what seven true virtues is he accomplished? The first one is Shraddha. Because just as in the Raja frontier citadel there is a pillar, deeply buried, well sunk, immovable, unshakable. Just like the pillar on the citadel, uh, which is immovable, difficult to shake, and well grounded. Shraddha, even so, because the noble disciple has faith, Shraddha, he has faith, Shraddha in the Tathagata's awakening. So this is the Shraddha is equalized compared to the citadel pillar. Citadel pillar, as you see, is the top place of a city. Either it is constructed on top of a mountain when the wall of the city goes through that, because you would be able to go there and see everything in the city, around the city, and distant places. So when the Shraddha is compared to such a thing of a well equipped city, it means to us that Shraddha is so important. So even so, because the noble disciple has faith, Shraddha, he has faith, Shraddha in the Tathagata's awakening. Thus, so too is he, the blessed one. He is Arhan, fully self-awakened one, accomplished in wisdom and conduct, welfare, knower of the worlds, a peerless guide of tameable persons, teacher of gods and human, and awakened and blessed. So that's called Itipiso, Bhagava Arahang Samma Sambuddho. If you remember that Pali stanza, the meaning of it is said by the Buddha. So Shraddha, when the disciples create Shraddha in his mind about the teacher, he has known those qualities of the Supreme Buddha. The teacher that I follow is the Buddha, and Buddha has a mind without craving. He himself attained to full enlightenment. These are the knowledges he has. His wisdom is such, and his behavior is such, and then he is the teacher for gods and human. He has gone on the noble eightfold path in a way incomparable to anyone, and he can tame people whom nobody can do that. And he is Buddha, he is Satta Devamansa, and so on. So the disciple has created Shraddha with the rational thinking about the Buddha, so that the Shraddha is not baseless. Shraddha is always based on reason. So this Shraddha is quite similar to Panya, because Panya, without Panya, Shraddha is meaningless. This Shraddha is based on Samadhi or Panya, therefore this Shraddha is meaningful and created with reasoning. So that is the first, the noble disciple is one who has the noble disciple is one whose pillar is Shraddha. He abandoned the unwholesome and cultivate the wholesome. So because of Shraddha, he abandoned unwholesomeness and cultivates wholesomeness. He abandons the blameworthy and cultivates blameless. He keeps himself in purity. He is accomplished in this first true virtue. See, if you truly love the Buddha, sorry for the using of that word, I use it for that word for in a meaning. So if you love your Buddha very much, you don't do anything against the Buddha, against what the Buddha said. The Buddha had asked us to be kind and compassionate, don't be jealous, don't be greedy, don't attach to this and that. So he has told us the consequences of all these things. So we don't do them because Buddha has said this, Buddha has said that. So unfortunately, today people do not come to many people do not come to that kind of analysis because of some reason. I found one of my friends, he always tell Buddha has not Buddha has said this not to do, Buddha has said this so that I don't do. Buddha has instructed us not to do this, so I don't do. He used to say this always, and other people don't like it. He said that what is this? It's nonsense. But that is how he get the inspiration. Buddha has, as far as I know, Buddha has not said this so that I don't do it. Buddha has said this, so I do it. This is according to Dhamma, so I do it. So likewise, he himself uttered these statements sometime, but many people around him do not like it because they say that it's not important. Anyhow, with Shraddha, proper Shraddha, either you tell it to somebody or not, it's fine. You decide that I don't do this because it is against the Dhamma. It is, if I do this, this kind of unwholesomeness might arise in us. So I don't do it. Likewise, you, based on Shraddha, you protect yourself from doing wrong things. That is great. So the Buddha said here, he abandons blameworthy, he abandoned unwholesomeness, and abandoning unwholesomeness and blameworthy, he does the right thing. Why? Shraddha, real Shraddha has arisen in his mind. So the first virtue out of 7 is Shraddha. Morally shameful, Hirima. So when you go to do something bad, you just feel it. So there you remember, okay, if I do this, I'm shameful. Don't you feel shame when you do this? So you feel that nature of your mind because you realize that this is against the Dharma. That kind of feeling always protects us from doing wrong thing, because when you are alone, you can do anything. You can do things to increase greed. You can do many things to increase hatred. You can be fool yourself, and you can develop raga, dosa, moha, anything you can do that without without anyone else presence. So being able to think that hirima, being shameful to do wrong things is a great quality. Let's read this. Bhikkhus, just as in the Raja's frontier citadel there is a moat, deep and wide, for the protection of the city inhabitants and for warding off those outside. Outside, even so, because the noble disciple has moral shame, hirima, he feels moral shame towards misconduct of body, misconduct of speech, and misconduct of the mind. He feels moral shame towards attaining bad, unwholesome state. The noble disciple is one whose mode is moral shame. He abandoned unwholesomeness and blameworthy and cultivate wholesomeness and cultivate blameless. He keeps himself in purity because of this reason. So whenever you go to do something physically, mentally, and verbally, you realize that this is shameful. This lead me to unskillfulness. Develop unskillfulness lead me to experience suffering. And when suffering comes, based on suffering, there is no guarantee that I do the same good things. I might do something wrong in order to escape from suffering. Because when people experience utter suffering physically and mentally, we cannot guarantee that all the people who experience suffering do right thing. Sometimes people do bad things over suffering. For example, suppose you lack of food, lack of shelter, lack of protection and love, so you are so helpless. In order to survive, you might rob somebody else's property. You might tell lies then that you didn't do that. So then you could have jealousy on people who has some properties because you don't have, and now you have jealousy. So when you are physically in suffering due to lack of this and that, when you are sick, you might have unwholesomeness in your mind. Anger might arise easily from those people who have nothing in their mind, in their possession, because they are angry with themselves and anybody else. So we cannot expect those people to develop wholesome qualities such as compassion and kindness because their situation is so terrible, socially terrible, individual, psychologically derailed, and relationship wide. Socially, it is really bad. So that people who are in physical suffering as well as mental suffering might go in the wrong direction. I'm not saying that everyone does it, but majority will do that. So the moral shame, hirima, is another important quality we need to develop. I sense that many people do not have it because they tend to, fight and abuse when same kind of people are there. Most of us are protecting our words and actions in front of the society. Uh, you know, we don't want to show our mistake for people. But when we are alone, when we are with the family, we we become normal, and there is no fear of doing wrong things. There is no shame of doing wrong things. We do that. Our effort is sometimes some of our people try their best to be good in the society because they fear of bad names, bad reputation. But when they are alone with their family members, they do all kind of bad things, which is an example of not having moral shame. The next quality, as you know, is uh, morally fearfulness, ottap. So this is the third quality. Because just as in the Raja's frontier citadel, there is an encircling path, walking path on top of it, high and wide, for the protection of the city inhabitants and far warding off for those outside. Even so, because the noble disciple has moral fear, his feel he feels moral fear towards misconduct of body, speech, and mind. He feels moral fear towards attaining bad, unwholesome states. Therefore, the noble disciple is one whose encycling pathway is moral fear. He abandoned unwholesomeness and also what is blameworthy, and practice wholesomeness and also blameless state of mind. Therefore, he stays in purity. He is pure. He has purified his mind. So this is the third virtue of the seven. First one is Shraddha, second one is Siri, third one is Ottap, unwavering confidence on the Buddha, first one, then the moral shame, and then the moral fear. It sounds like you are shameful to break moral virtues. You are fearful to break moral virtues because you see the consequences of breaking them. That kind of attitude is being talked with these two. Now we go to the fourth one, much learning, sutava. Because just as in the Raja's frontier citadel there is a great armory of weapons, such as missiles and swords, for the protection of people inside the city, even so, because the noble disciple is much learned, Bahusruta, he remembers what he has learned, build up what he has learned, those teachings that are good in the beginning, good in the middle, good in the end, both in meaning and in raising, that proclaim the holy life that is fully complete and pure. Such teaching he has learned much, remembered, recited, mentally investigated, and penetrated well by view. So, Bahusruta is not just reading books from the beginning to the end and then take another book, reading so many suttas or remembering all these names. It is a part of it. Having read or heard discourses, explanations, you have to do a particular process there. Listen to this. Uh, he has learned much, remembered. So, yeah, you go through all the texts, all the suttas from the beginning to the end. That is okay. That should be done. Then remember. Unless you remember what you read, what is the use of reading? At least you have to remember salient points of what you read. Then recited. You have to repeat them. For example, we read Sutta Dhammacakkappavattana. Okay, so having read it, we would be able to recite the important points of Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. It talks about uh, you know two extreme. Then we have to be mindful about the way we should keep them in mind. Then Majjhima Patipada Tathagatena Abhisambuddha Chakkukarani Jnanakarani Vasamaya Abhinyaya. So we have to remember the way the Buddha explained the Majjhima Patipada. Then what is Majjhima Patipada? The Noble Eightfold Path. We have to remember the Noble Eightfold Path, because in order to do the gradual learning, being able to be a sutta, Bahusruta, you read it, now you remember it, now your time is to recite it. Whatever you remember should be taken for the reflection with the recitation. Then mentally investigate. Mentally investigate. Now you would be able to investigate what you remembered, what you recited with meaning, by comparing what you feel normally. Mentally remember. Penetrated well by view, not based on your own view, but based on the Dhamma view, Dhamma points. You have to investigate it. So, friends, this is called Bahusutta. Sometimes people think that Bahusutta, okay, I have read this much of discourses, I have written this kind of books, but if you are asked a question about particular Dhamma, you are speechless, which is not happening what has to be done. But when you become a noble disciples, with the quality of Bahusruta, like if you look at Venerable Ananda, he was able to recite every bit of Dhamma elements, every words that the Buddha uttered at the first Sasanga Council. He not only went through all the words and phrases and suttas, he was also able to remember them and recite them and penetrated with meaning, investigate with meaning. So that's a very good example of Bahusruta. So this is the so having done this, um, uh, the noble disciple is one whose weapon is learning. So this is very important. If we talk about weapons to defeat the Mara inside, we are talking about some virtues starting with Shraddha. Shraddha is a weapon against Mara, against Ashraddha, against any unwholesomeness. Then moral shame and fear are two weapons. These weapons are useful for us to fight the total opposite of them. Then this Bahusruta, being able to know many things and keep them in many ways and take them back to your conversation is also a weapon. So you are fighting enemies inside and outside with these weapons. So likewise, he abandoned unwholesomeness and blameworthiness, and he cultivate wholesomeness and blamelessness. Therefore, his mind is so pure and clean. So this is the fourth one, and we go to the fifth one, Arad the Virya. Because just as in the Raja's frontier citadel, there reside many kind of troops, many kind of troops. Those people who use weapons on top of the elephants with riding elephants and horses, and those who blow arrows, and those who throw other weapons, and those who use swords, and there were many troops at that time. Even so, because the disciple is exertive in effort, Aradha Virya. He dwells exerting effort in abandoning unwholesome states. In promoting wholesome states, he is vigorous, steadfast in striving, and unrelenting in his task in promoting wholesome state. Therefore, the noble uh, disciple is one whose troops are effort. He abandoned unwholesomeness and blameworthiness, but he cultivate in a wholesome state and blamelessness. Therefore, he is in purity. So the fifth one is Aradha Virya, the Virya that he has already started. Arambaka dhatu, Nikkama dhatu, Parakkam dhatu. Your mind is always geared by this particular mental strength. Anytime you see unwholesomeness arising in mind, you recognize it. Actually, mindfulness is doing that part, and with the support of wisdom, and when it is pull out from your mind, mental strength is working, and being able to keep mindfulness and wisdom for longer period is done by the virya, aradha virya. If we talk about some vayama, that is the way it is said. So virya is another virtue out of 7. It is the fifth one. Let's go to the beginning. Shraddha, Hiri, second one, Otappa, and that is the third one. Then Bahusruta, being able to read and heard many things and remembered and recited and reflected and so forth. And then the fifth one is Aradhavirya. Now you can imagine what it would be the sixth one and seventh one. Sixth one is Satima, mindfulness, and the seventh one is Panya. So Sati, being able to be mindful, is compared to the gatekeeper. We found this similarly in many places in the discourse in the Tripitaka. Mindfulness is compared to the gatekeeper. Gatekeeper should be skillful in checking people. He would be able to know who are the inhabitants of the city and who are not. And from different gestures, behaviors, he was able to recognize the hidden agendas of those people who come in. And when people go out of the city, what they take with them and what they bring them. So a lot of things could be done by the skillful gatekeeper in order to protect the city. So in the same way, the being mindful about sensory experiences, but because where the mindfulness stays, or where the mindfulness is established, is discussed in the Dhamma very much in the Satipatthana series. So be mindful about seeing, be mindful about hearing, tasting, smelling, touching, thinking, and that those are the places where mindfulness should be, placed. When sensory experiences is taking place, it's called passa. Right after passa, Vedana arises with sanya. So you could be mindful about this process in order to protect your mind from arising of craving based on feeling. Because inside the contact process, feeling and perception arises immediately after these two. Tanha could be arises if not yoniso manasikara or wisdom is there. So being mindful about the process, you can call wisdom to come and help to stop this unwholesomeness, and it is being done with the virya, because without mental strength you cannot keep mindfulness at the place it should be. So mindfulness is always there with the support of wisdom and also virya. So being mindful is the sixth one, and panya is the seven virtue. Panya is compared to the wall of the city. It's huge, high and wide, so that it is the main, it is one of the main thing. And even today, what is left in those fortress, which built centuries ago, the wall. If you go to Anuradhapura, Polonnaru, India, elsewhere in the world, wherever you find a fortress, you have to see only walls of the protected area. So the panya is such a wonderful, very important, required things. Though it is said at last, the seed of panya in the name of Sammaditi should come first, even to be faithful person on the Buddha. Even to be having Shraddha, you have to have panya, a type of panya is called Sammaditi. So having said this, Buddha says, noble disciple who has all these seven is going to abandon unwholesomeness and blameworthiness by the Dhamma, and cultivate wholesomeness and achieve blamelessness. This is called complete purity in the Dhamma, based on the Dhamma and Vinaya. So when you have these seven in your character, in your behavior, in your mind, for jhanas, the higher state of mind could be achieved, without any difficulty, without any trouble, even at will. Friends, this is a very important statement. When you have Shraddha, Hiri, Otappa, Bahusruta, Virya, Sati, and Panya in a level of satisfactory, you can gain Shraddha, you can attain into Shraddha without any difficulty in a short period of time. Why? Because letting go of hindrances could be easily done, because you have mindfulness, seed of panya, and virya is started already, and you have shraddha. Your mind doesn't go into different conclusion, different places when shraddha, mindfulness, virya, and all these things are there. This is true. So attaining jhana is easy for this particular person. First jhana, we all know what is first jhana. So in the parable, the the inside of the city is well equipped with these four kinds of wood. First one, grass for elephants and cows and goats and all the animals that they use for various purposes, and water and wood. That is the first category. So the first jhana is like having these things in the city. So when you have enough water, wood for making your food, and then grass for animals, you can stay longer. Yeah, the first jhana is like that. When we attain to first jhana, we know that 5 hindrances are suppressed and temporarily taken out. And second jhana, the second type of food the Raja and the inhabitants of the city store is rice and barley, the main food items. So attaining second jhana without vitak and vichara is compared to having rice, enough rice for a longer period, and barley also. And third jhana is compared to the food sesame, green peas, beans, and other food items, any vegetables, anything you eat with rice is compared to third jhana. We know that third jhana is highlighted with upekka, or a state of a very peaceful mind. Uh, that is the dharma. I entail the third jhana, and the fourth jhana is compared to medicine. So having grass, water, and wood, and then rice and barley and all kinds of vegetable they eat, and then medicine. So you have all the requisite inside the city. No worries to go out in danger and bring anything. So you are safe. Nobody can defeat you. Likewise, when you have four jhanas, you are temporarily away from the Mara's territory. Mara could not see where you are, because Mara can influence us or infiltrate our mind when Pancha Nivarana exists in our mind. But when Pancha Nivarana is taken out from our mind, Mara cannot disturb us, particularly our mind. He could sometimes the Mara has even entered into bodies of Arahants. There are evidences in the Tripitaka that Mara could do such things. But the Mara could not damage to the mental state of someone who has gone beyond the 5 hindrances, because it is something he does not understand. He cannot see that. So that's why the Buddha said here, attaining four jhanas could be easily done, and that you can stay there, because the basis for four jhanas here is the seven virtues. Seven virtues. So now we come to the conclusion of the sutta, because when a noble disciple is accomplished in these seven true virtues and attain these four jhanas, its higher mind, at will, without any difficulty, without any trouble, dispel happily here and now. So if I say that somebody is happy and well developed in the Dhamma, they have to have these seven, and based on seven, four jhanas should be practiced. This noble disciple, bhikkhus, is to be one who has nothing to do with the Mara, who is not overcome by the bad one. So this disciple is way beyond the Mara's reach. He in the commentary, it is said that if one has these seven and practice jhana, he either attain arahantship directly, or at least attain to stages of the third stage of enlightenment. In other commentaries, for sure, he end up or she end up attaining extreme winning position, at least, because when you practice, when you gain seven virtues, you become a powerful individual who has the Dhamma. So the mind is always away from akusala, so that you do not die without attaining to at least the sotapanna state. So that is the Nagaropama Sutta. In short, the Dhamma elements that the Sutta explain to us can take us to different other discourses, so that the discussion would be lengthier than this, but I don't want to, because because Sutta is been very clear in its Dhamma and also the explanation of it. So now you can add anything to discuss or describe some certain factors as you like, or maybe you can refer to any other practical experiences with regard to this sutta. So anything you like now? please unmute your mic and talk if you are really interested in sharing your knowledge. So when we read this kind of discourses, which has some gradual uh, practices, we may sometime pick up one or two, not everything, and try our best to do so. And the type of urgency arises in our mind to do this. Okay, I did not know this fact before. Now I know it, so let me try. Okay, Buddha said that aradha virya, the perseverance or right effort, is really important to keep everything at the way, so that I should be mindful to be, uh, uh, you know, ardent and fully aware, so that I can do a better job in my practice. Or moral shame and fear. I should be fearful of doing wrong thing, even a slightest wrong thing, because it takes me to a negative conclusion. If I am in the negative side, how could I be happy? So by listening to this kind of discourses, we can sometimes inspire ourselves for our practice. No matter which conditions we live in the life, we become inspired. Okay, if you do not have any additions, any comments, anything interesting to add to the sutta, I would end today's sutta discussion. Remember the Nagaropama Sutta. Uh, the ancient city is taken with its requisites, and the Raja, the king of the country, is inside the city with people of the city. And it is a kind of storytelling, and storytelling is taken well first by the Buddha to mean the Dhamma there. So I think the bhikkhus over there were very happy, like us today. So I think bhikkhus and bhikkhunis and lay followers later on practice the Dhamma based on this discourse. I told you at the beginning of the sutta discussion that this sutta is famous because of the way it is uttered by the Buddha. Okay, so I wish may you be able to develop your shraddha, moral shame and fear. Then may you be able to be a Bahusruta or the very learned person in the Dhamma, and remember the Dhamma, reflected the Dhamma, recited the Dhamma, negotiate with the Dhamma, and then may be able to have, very the right effort with its full quality, and be mindfulness should also be in your, uh, you know, account well developed, and panya also, and gaining jhana is very important. A lot of people do not touch this topic very much because still they are unable to, but try your best to be in jhana with your dharma elements as the basis, so that you will be really, really happy like the bhikkhus, and therefore you may not be ending your life just as a normal person. I believe you might attain to at least Sotapanna state. Wishing you that kind of experiences in your life. I'm going to end today's Sutta discussion. May you all be well, be happy, and peaceful. Thanks for joining with us, and I'm going to meet you next Tuesday with a new Sutta. Until